Good morning, everyone. I'm Bill Barron. I'm president of the Board of Trustees of Unity of Charlotte, and I want to welcome everyone here on this beautiful, rainy, chilly day that I'm sure you were looking forward to getting out into. Today I've just got, well, first of all, I want to welcome also anyone that's here for the first time. Do we have anybody here that's for the first time? Would you want to raise your hand for us? Good try, Horace. You got to disguise yourself a little bit better. Yeah, he lives in the now, somebody just said. That's true. Everything's for the first time. Okay, so I also want to welcome visitors that may be watching us on Access 21 and on YouTube. We're here at 401 East Arrowwood every Sunday morning at 10:30, and we'd love to have you come here in person if that's something you'd like to do.
Please prepare yourself for realizing the unity principles. Your quest for spiritual growth, for personal spiritual growth, has been facilitated by one thing: the growth of love in your heart. The growth of love in your heart is the way that you increase your power. Love is the power that draws to you the attributes you seek. You have grown spiritually. You have grown to love more deeply. Love this unity to you which you awakened years ago. Love this unity to which you awakened long ago. Love it more and more as you engage in spiritual practice. More of God's goodness is drawn to you. The greater your power. And your power is greater the more you love. You are naturally good because God lives in you and through you. Every spiritual practice allows you to experience more of God's good. You're choosing thoughts, your affirmative prayer, your meditations, your sacred reading enhance your experience of unity. Love this unity with all of your heart and all of your mind. The more you love it, the more you live it. Thank you, God, for awakening me to our unity. We are one, and so it is.
And as we simply stay grounded in that consciousness so beautifully established, and we set an intention for this day that we might remember the truth of who we are, that we might become more awake and more aware of our spiritual magnificence, that we might live from the place of light within, that we remember to not conform to the ways of the world, but to live from spiritual truth and reality. And so I give thanks for this day, for this opportunity to be together in spiritual community. I give thanks for the many hands and hearts that have brought forward all that transpires, those who have been of loving service to create this space, to create this opportunity, those who have prepared food, and those who have done the spiritual work of setting up tables and taking down chairs. For all of these blessings, we give thanks. We know that this day is blessed beyond measure. Let us rejoice in it. And so it is. Amen.
Right now.
This morning's meditation, we begin with a poem written by our own Bob Sokol for a wonderful member of our community who's moved to another dimension of life. Juanita Lynn Costin was a woman who touched her community with deep soul and deep spirit. And so in honoring the passing of this plane of existence into the next and the lives that she touched and the youth program that she was so instrumental, it felt appropriate to share this poem and then move into meditation. It's called The Mighty Oak of a Woman. The mighty oak started as a greedy seed, in need of all the water it could get. You bet. There was an inconvenience to her truth. She didn't need permission to lead or grow. This steed just did the deed. Indeed, look at the memories. She picked her interruptions with care and is remembered for daring challenges and courage as she raised the bar so far. This oak of a woman will be remembered for lifting our children and other brothers and mothers to sometimes uncomfortable heights where no boundaries can be found. We are better because she invited us in. Our theme for this month is awakening to our spiritual magnificence. And so Juanita represented one of many who reminded us that we are more than our current conditions. We are more than these physical bodies. We are more than our resume. Indeed, as we center into the awareness of being a spiritual being, then it is not from a place of arrogance, but rather of humility that we recognize our spiritual magnificence. We honor that within us, that divine light that is seeking its revelation. And so let our hearts be open. Let our minds be clear. Let us speak with power and authority as we proclaim that there is indeed one life, that life that shines through all of creation. We allow ourselves to be the living embodiment of the one living Spirit. In joy and in gratitude, I simply allow it to be so, as together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Holy Spirit,
And so now I'd like to invite you to stand and join me in reading our affirmation for February, and then we can remain standing as we move into our congregational song. Today, I awaken to my spiritual magnificence. I honor and celebrate who I am. I am grateful for all of my blessings. I allow my light to shine brightly. Place your hand over your heart. Let's do that last one again with feeling. Today, I awaken to my spiritual magnificence. So this morning we are blessed with our special music. A woman new to me, but not new to many of you. Many of you know Greg James, who's our behind-the-scenes choir director. All the music comes through Greg on Sundays, even though he's not here, through the power of technology. And today he sent us probably the greatest gift in his life, which is his daughter. So I hope you'll join me in welcoming Jennifer James.
I came to life again today. So much to share, but there are no words to say. And so forgive this simple noise, 'cause I'm just trying to find my voice. The love I feel, the pain I bear, no more is lost, forgotten in the air. I made a change and made a choice, 'cause I'm just trying to find my voice. And with every word I'm freeing the one for whom I seek. When I look inside, I'm seeing a child afraid to speak. Each eye you meet in silent crowds, I'll have a song they long to sing aloud for everyone. You hear rejoice and say I love you when you find your voice.
Isn't she lovely? How blessed we are. Oh, beautiful day, isn't it? You see, there are some in the world that would allow the conditions outside of themselves to determine their experience. I know this is hard to believe, but I'm telling you, I've been out there. It's crazy out there. The thing that I come back to time and time again is the experience of life that I'm having is the experience that I'm having. Profound, huh? You want to write that down? That I'm having. Not that life is given to me, but the experience that I'm having is the experience that I'm having, and it may be an unconscious response, but our work, I believe, is for us to become more conscious. I believe our work is to be aware of the spiritual power and the divine magnificence of who we are. Now, as I said, that some would hear that and say that that implies arrogance. And I would imply it's just the opposite. When we begin to recognize our spiritual divinity, our inherent divinity, it should be humbling to us. We should walk with grace and ease as we move through the world because we are aware of the gift that we have been given. To me, this is what grace means. To live with grace is to recognize our divine origin, where we have come from, and what we are here to do. Now, we often find ourselves in this conflicted place between what the ego believes to be true and what the soul knows is true. The ego would have us believe that it is our positions of power in the world. It is our financial status. It is our looks. It is all of the things of the world that make us important and make us powerful. And there's only one problem with that. And that's that changes. Have you noticed? There comes a point where you are no longer the hot young thing. For some of us, it's been about 50 years, so, right? And so when we identify with our outer experience and we think that that's who we are, then when the outer experience changes, and it will inevitably change, then we experience loss and emptiness. So this month we're looking at this idea of awakening to our spiritual magnificence. As you'll hear me say time and time again, we are inherently spiritual beings. We are whole, perfect, complete beings by our birth. Wow. So the hard work was already done. Now, then we have to remember that. Because it's a wonderful thing. You know, a lot of us run around with a case of mistaken identity. We have identified ourselves mistakenly. And we think when we're in that place that if we only had more money, our problems would be solved. That if we only had that great love of our life, then it would be wonderful. If our kids would behave in a certain way, then I'm worthy, right? All of these silly, silly stories that we've told ourselves, and not only told ourselves, but become to believe. And once we believe it, then we act as if that's what's real. So part of our experience of life is about disrupting belief patterns. If you notice that, you start to do your inner work and some things get disrupted. So there's a wonderful place. I remember being new to metaphysics and learning about the power of my word, and that I could create my reality. And all I had to do was think and say and affirm and believe. And lo and behold, as I learned these powerful tools, I got good at manifesting parking spaces. Now that meant nothing when I lived in Phoenix, but when I got to LA, then I was like, oh, I get it. Oh, I get the power of this whole idea, right? That realm of princes and palaces and parking spaces, I like to call it, where we get to control our life through the power of our thoughts. And that's a good place. It's a wonderful place to start. Not to finish, but to start. Because we have to own that we have spiritual power, that we are working with a co-creative, or we are co-creative with the infinite power. And so we realize, as Aldous Huxley said, that there's only one corner of the universe which we can be certain of improving, and that is our own self. Now, some of us have spent a great deal of time and energy and effort and probably money trying to get other people's corner of the universe to be better. I am so good at managing other people's lives. Brilliant, and yet somehow they don't listen, right? But it comes back to, I've got to clean up my corner. And so who am I? How am I showing up in the world? You see, Norman Vincent Peale many years ago said, if you change your thoughts, you will change your world. Isn't that wonderful? That we can change our world by changing our thinking. I would add to that if you will change your words, you will change your world. I found myself quoting Mary Morrissey recently, and I don't know who she stole it from, but I know she did because she's a minister, and that's all we do. Just take good information from other people. A friend of mine once said, the first time I credit it, the second time I say, someone once said, and the third time, it's like I always say, right? So we're all guilty. But she said, I'm no longer going to tell God how big my problems are, but rather I'm going to tell my problems how big my God is. It's a different way of looking at it, isn't it? That this condition is just a condition. It is not bound. But the power of life, the power of being through us is what transforms our lives. And that's why we're here. And so when we begin to change our thinking, we begin to change our words. Sometimes we need to change our words first in order to start changing our thinking. This approach to affirmative living is literally speaking into existence the world we would inhabit. You see, we were given a tool. Some of us have looked at the Bible. Some have gone so far as to read it, but, I don't want to get crazy on you. You could find one in your house if you had to. I know that, right? And it starts with this beautiful passage where the divine speaks into existence light, and everything follows from the light. So some would say, that was something that happened 6,000 years ago. Others might say some other thing. I would say that is ongoing. That we are literally letting our life be what we choose it to be. And so when we speak the words of power, when we discover our voice, our true, authentic voice, we learn to speak differently. We learn. How many of you were raised in such a way that it was considered egotistical to say nice things about yourself? Don't be too full of yourself. And I always say, well, who are you going to be full of? right? If not you, you're going to have a walk-in or what do they call it? Anyways, that's a whole other story. Right? We should be full of ourself, of our divine self. It does us good to honor and to celebrate our spiritual reality. It does not make us better than anyone else. It does not make us less than anyone else. We are all divine beings. But until we learn to honor and recognize that, then we continue to be in a pattern of waiting for life's conditions to show up so that we can experience joy and happiness and fulfillment. And it's a long wait. I'm just going to tell you. It's a long wait. So I've been looking at this idea for some time. I actually do a course called Giving Voice to Your Soul. And it's part public speaking and it's part recognizing who you are. We'll do it at some point. In fact, I'll start doing some classes at some point. I'm kind of gathering in at this point. So I decided, this time I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try not to make myself crazy right off the bat. I'll ease into that, So somebody once told me, people wildly underestimate what they can do, or wildly overestimate what they can do a year, and highly underestimate what they can do in 10. And so I'm working in a 10-year vision. And there are things to be done today, but not everything. So as we are moving into that, we'll offer some classes, but one of the reasons I love this course is it's designed to help us give voice to that which is inherently within us. You see, sometimes we get so afraid of what are people going to think. They tell me that one of the greatest fears people have is public speaking. They'd rather handle snakes or die. Obviously not my issue. Yes. So, but for many, and because what is that? Well, I think it's a mindset. What will people think? Will they see, blah, blah, blah. Can I be vulnerable? But when we learn our authentic self, when we learn who we truly are, then we realize those powerful words of the Master when he said, let your light shine brightly. You see, don't hide it. Let it shine brightly. And I believe that we are in a time where we need more people to allow their divine light to shine brightly. There is a lot of darkness. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of crazy happening in our world right now. I don't know if you noticed. And if we're not careful, then we move to the realm of conditions, say, ain't it awful? And the problem with when we say ain't it awful is we always want to figure out whose fault it is. Because, part of being a victim is you have to have somebody to blame. Just saying. I think I'm going to write that down. Could you write that down for me? I need to remember that. Every once in a while I say some things that are like, that's so good I might practice. Right? Another teacher, I think I referred to him recently, Rod Hairston, who's a wonderful, wonderful teacher of changing our mentality. You see, we are habitual thinkers. We think the same way over and over and over, and we create actually neural patterns in our mind that then reinforces that. And so we think the same way, and we become habitual in our thinking, and then life shows up to reinforce what we think, and now it's not only a belief, we now have evidence to support the belief. And then we think it's real. So we have to disrupt those patterns. But he says something brilliant. He said, most of us build our habits, our bad habits, in the right way, and our good habits in the wrong way. Right? Think about that for a moment. When we start setting up a bad pattern in our life, we will announce it to the world. I'm great with faces, I can't remember names. The universe says, cool. Brain says, got it. Or we'll say, oh, ain't it awful? The politics, the people, oh, get all into it. And then we get some people around us and we kind of really get into it and get some energy going. And now, you see, that's how mind works. A thought with emotion is powerful in creation. Right? And then we say, okay, well, wait a minute, I'm a metaphysician. I will not be conformed by the ways of the world. I will transform and renew my mind. I will pray. Lord, help me be a better person. Right? I'm going to announce and proclaim to the world how big the problem is, and then let's get spiritual. I don't know who decided that spiritual is going to be really quiet like this. Right? Let's pray. What? Pray. Oh, pray! Right? So I just want you to think about this. Where does our energy, where does our attention, where does our power go? And I'm going to suggest to you that if it is thought combined with emotion, working with the laws of mind, we might want to be very intentional about the thought and the emotion. Yes. We might want to, as Rod says, start getting good at creating the habit that we want in the right way, and start minimizing the bad habits. It's a fun thing to get to do the work that I get to do, and I get to spend a lot of time with people in different situations, and what I know is most of us are pretty good at identifying what's wrong. If I ask you, all right, we don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to have you list the top 10 things wrong with you. Done. And then I would say, what makes you magnificent? What makes you wonderful? What makes you extraordinary? Right? Because we have been conditioned to think a certain way. And I'm going to suggest to each of us, there is more right with us than wrong with us. There is more going on. And so why not celebrate that? Now, if you feel like you have to tell other people that, you're probably not there yet. Jesus never said, hey, watch this. You think the water into wine thing was cool? Wait till you see this. Because I am one with God. No. Just said, Father, I give thanks that you hear me and hear me always. And spoke the truth. And healing occurred. And love was revealed. And peace was made known. It's beautiful, isn't it? And likewise, he didn't ever say, I don't know if I could do this. Wow, epilepsy. Whew. We don't even have a name for it yet, so how could I heal that? Right? So this is why I say over and over and over, when we look to Jesus, we look to him as the great example and not the great exception. Yes. That we seek to know the Christ mind as he knew it, that we might live more powerfully, that we might give voice to that which is within us. Jesus spoke the words of truth. And he said some powerful things. Just in Matthew, when you start reading, as I did, I went through a traditional upbringing of Bible, took that 15-year vacation, came back, and was reintroduced to Bible and from metaphysics, and it was like a whole new book. It's like, was that always there? Did they add that? Right? So he says, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise person who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had foundations on the rock. Yes. The rock of faith, the rock of knowing. When we build our house on the rock of who we are, then let the rains come, let the waters rise, let the winds blow, because I will be undeterred because I know who I am. Tell it. Thank you. And when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teachings because he taught as one who had authority, not as their teachers of the law. I know metaphysicians that can explain to you from start to finish all the laws of metaphysics. They can quote to you book, line, and passage, the Fillmores. They can tell you all kinds of wonderful things about the nature of life, and their lives don't work. I'm not talking to anybody in the room, just so if you're getting all antsy, and I'm not going to call you out. Right? Because intellectual knowledge is not enough. It's about moving it into our heart. It's about knowing who we are. Yes. That we are spiritual beings. And yes, the rains will come. The winds do blow. And yet we stay grounded in faith and truth and knowing. We speak with one of authority. You already have practiced your authority. Sometimes, though, we didn't practice it mindfully, and so we proclaimed a truth in our life that we don't want to have there. So now we're just going to rearrange our habits a little bit and proclaim with authority that which we wish to see in our world. Gandhi said it so beautifully when he said to us, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." Be the change you wish to see in the world. That's where we have impact, is by being and then doing. The Master said to us that if we will ask, it will be given to us. Wow. If we seek, we will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Wow. Did you ask? Did you seek? Did you knock? Well, they should have known. They should have, but they don't. So just go ahead and knock and seek and find, right? Exactly. In Matthew, it says, "Let your yes be yes, and let your no be no." That's a powerful statement. Sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes we're afraid of saying no. Oh my God, the most annoying thing to me in the world as a minister is people that say yes when they really mean no. Hey, will you lead this program? Yes. And you don't see him again. I'm going to take that as a no. And I'd rather you just said no so I could go find somebody to say yes. This is about part of being healthy communities, learning to say yes when we mean yes, and no when we mean no, and celebrating. How good is that? Another passage said, "If you don't, I will spew you from my mouth," which is just a good passage, so I like to throw it in whenever I can. Right? Discover your voice. Speak with power and authority. Speak with conviction from who you are spiritually. And then allow the universe to support that intention and that power. You willing? Yes. I heard a yes. Good. So I think we should start with prayer. I'm going to invite our choir to come back up and join us. And we're just going to anchor that thought in truth of who we are. As we simply enter into the awareness, as we center into that powerful essence, the power not of the world, but the power of the living Spirit. It is written that darkness is not a thing of itself, but it is absence of light. And so we bring forth the light that is within us. We recognize and know that we are one with the infinite intelligence, the divine wisdom, that being that many of us would call God. And we know that this power and this presence lives and moves and has its being in us, just as we have our being in it. We remember that we are co-creative beings. And so in this moment of spiritual community, we are simply declaring the reality we wish to see and wish to experience. We recognize and know that we are wholeness by our very nature, and that wholeness is coursing through our veins. That wholeness is living itself in every cell and every system of our physical being, of our mental being, of our emotional being. And when we know that wholeness, healing occurs, the revelation of truth. We speak the word of truth as we know that love is indeed the only reality. And so we call forth divine love, knowing that it heals and transforms anything unlike itself. We joyously and freely forgive, for we know unforgiveness is simply the absence of love. As we do so, we allow our relationships to be healed and transformed. We recognize and know that right here and right now we are abundant beings, that we are joyously and fully participating in the divine flow of life, that indeed we create nothing, but we simply participate in that which is creative. And so we give thanks for the many blessings. We give thanks for the blessings of this spiritual community. We know that we are indeed blessed, and that blessing goes forth to be a blessing to the world. We accept our mission and our purpose to help to heal and transform lives through the power of truth. We extend a blessing to our brothers and sisters around the planet. We're holding that high vision for a planet at peace, for a world that works for all. And as always, I like to bless all priests, rabbis, ministers, teachers of every faith. For I know there are many pathways to the one life, the one God. And therefore I honor and celebrate them all. In joy and in gratitude, I am giving thanks. And as I speak this word of power, I do so for all of us. I release it into that law of mind that knows what to do and how to do it, to bring forth the highest good for all concerned in perfect timing and in divine right order. For these blessings and so many more, I simply give thanks. I allow it to be so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Street, see a girl and our eyes meet, does her best to smile at me, to hide what's underneath. There's a man just to her right, black suit and a bright red tie, too ashamed to tell his wife he's out of work, he's buying time. All those people going somewhere, why have I never cared? For just 1 second, give me your eyes so I can see everything that I keep missing. Give me your love for humanity. Give me your arms for the broken-hearted, ones that are far beyond my reach. Give me your arms for the ones forgotten. Give me your eyes so I can see just 1 second. Give me your eyes so I can see everything that I keep missing. Give me your love for humanity. Give me your arms for the brokenhearted, ones that are far beyond my reach. Give me your hearts for the one forgotten. Give me your eyes so I can see. Give me your eyes for just 1 second. Give me your eyes so I can see everything that I've been missing. Give me your arms that I can see. Give me your arms for the brokenhearted, ones that are far beyond my reach. Give me your hearts for the one forgotten. Give me your eyes so I can see. Yeah, 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 yeah.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.